Hi, everybody. Welcome to
We
Outside
are
the
live.
Sanctuary. Hi. Welcome to Outside the Sanctuary. I am Bill Merkh. Today, I am joined by two of my hosts, and we got a great guest. So, I'm joined by
Katrina McDonald
and
Steve Entwistle. Vince McDonald.
yes, Pastor Vince McDonald. And today, we have a second-time guest.
Yes, celebrity guest.
Colwell.
Yes.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
He's the pastor of Grace Bible in Barrington. And he has a new book out.
Yeah, so wrote my first book last January, and just felt the Lord calling me to, to keep writing. And so this one is on leadership and character, and I've always been fascinated with biblical character of Boaz in the Old Testament from the book of Ruth. And so just sort of thinking and praying about it. And because I always thought that he was such a godly model of what leadership and character looked like. And especially for men, obviously, and men that lead. And so just kind of worked through that and came up with several things from his life and his character that we see throughout the book. And then I developed them a little further, because it's only a few chapters of the Bible on what godly leadership, godly character should look like, particularly for men. So the book is for everyone in the sense of, I think that these things are transferable to everybody, right?
Right.
Humility, integrity, those kinds of things, decisive leadership, purity, kindness, all of those things. But my heart is really to reshape or let the scriptures reshape how we think about leadership and character. And I think that we've divorced leadership and character from one another way too much in culture. And even in the church, it's become a lot about me and less about, godly leadership. So that's what it's about.
So the book is titled A Life Worth Following, Godly Leadership Lessons from the Life of Boaz.
Yeah.
And that is on Amazon.
And it's a turn from your first book, because your first book was more life experience or how God used. I forget the title of your first book, but
I know it hurts.
Yeah, I was told. I know it hurts. It was about life experience based on the diagnosis and the walk that we've had with my youngest son Chase and what I've learned, and particularly about suffering.
Do you? I would assume, because obviously it's such a part of how God has molded you. Are there aspects of that to carry into this book, or I mean, like, I just meant things that how sometimes you make a rap how it shaped you. Or
so this one,
or
I don't
completely opposite.
I'm trying to think, because I'm actually writing a third book now, and it's a much bigger treatment of suffering and sort of the theology. So I'm using a lot in there. So I don't think so in the leadership book. Yeah, this is kind of a detour.
But now is it? I'm a big Chuck Swindoll guy, and now I realize I'm old. Somebody said to me the other day, who do you listen to on the radio? And I said, Swindoll. And they were like, no, I mean of like the relevant contemporary guys. And I was like, I don't care that he's like in his 80s, like Chuck Swindoll. But so many of his books came out of his preaching. Really, it was he would preach a series and then they would turn it into a book. Did you preach through this?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I preached through the book of Ruth. Yeah. So I didn't preach specifically on this because I'm an expository preacher. So I treated it, verse by verse, and it was as much about Ruth and Naomi as it was about Boaz.
Sure.
So yes, I preached through Ruth twice, actually, once at my old church, once at this church. And so out of that, really, I started thinking, wow, there's a lot here about Boaz that I think is just so rich. And so I kind of took that and then developed that further.
And I think that's awesome, because if you said to the average, person who even, reads scripture, hey, I want to do a book on, godly, leadership for men, they'd be jumping at all these other characters, who are we going to go with, for it to be Boaz, to be
that's not the first one you think of.
Yeah, I think that's neat.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is very interesting to me.
Yeah. I was trying, like I said, he's one of my favorite biblical characters. And I realized, wow, there's just not that much out there on him. You know, even though there's so much about him that is so admirable, and we would want to teach men to be like that. And so I started to develop it.
What's the time? How long? I guess if you published a book last year, it took you a year to write this.
No,
or how long did it take you to write this?
It's funny. Once I started writing, writer's block and those things like those are real.
Okay.
And not just writer's block, but like really the desire to do it kind of comes and goes.
Okay.
And so no, I really didn't have an interest in doing anything writing for like 8 months. And then this came about pretty quickly. I started thinking and praying about the next project and sort of getting passionate about it. And I'm one of those people that I'll do nothing for 8 months and then I can't stop. Like once I get going. So, I'll do all the research and all that stuff. But I mean, I'll write a book in, 4 or 5 weeks as far as like the content. I'll stay up all night and I can't
just get it done. Yeah.
I can't stop.
You just got to get it done.
Yeah. So
interesting. Did you ever think that you would be an author when you were going to school, when you were in college? I guess was that something on the back of your mind that you were interested in? No. It just developed really after you had Chase and all of that.
Yeah.
All of that,
I've always had a big interest in theology and those kinds of things. I did a lot of schooling and I'll probably go back at some point as well. So
for the third time we bring her back, it'll be Dr. Shane Colwell.
Well, don't you already have your?
No, I have a bachelor's.
You have a master's, don't you?
I have 2 masters. Yeah, I have a bachelor's in Bible and pastoral ministries, an MDiv in Christian ministry, a THM in systematic theology, and then I was working on a PhD in organizational leadership. But once everything started with Chase and everything, and
that got put on the back burner.
I got put on the back burner.
So you'll go back for that.
I'll probably go back for a doctor of ministry. It's a little more easier when you're in ministry to do.
To pursue. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go back at some point.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the only way I would get my doctorate is if I somehow inherited millions and gave a big gift to Cairn University and they gave me an honorary.
Nobody's.
Maybe you can order it from
like Bill Cosby from Temple University.
That's probably not the best one you want to bring up.
I don't mean me and him.
I'm going to cover my water right now and just say,
my goodness.
How are you, sir?
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, well, we sidetrack. We have fun.
Yeah.
So Boaz, you described him as a man of quiet strength. Courageous kindness.
Did his homework. Bill did his homework.
And unwavering integrity.
Yeah.
And what kind of jumps out of those kind of things? Why? Tell me more about that.
Sure. So, that's what I love about Boaz is because I just view him as a complete man of God in the sense of he embodies all of the things that maybe we expect and we don't expect in a godly leader, or just in leadership, right? Because leadership now is just all about strong man, building a brand, ends justifies the means, all those things. And so we see all the good qualities of strong leadership in Boaz with all of the important character qualities that are necessary for godly leadership. So, we see decisive leadership, strong leadership in the way that he protects Ruth and in the way that he deals with his employees, but also we see gentleness and kindness and integrity, purity, and all of those things. So I just see him as a complete godly leader, all of the better qualities that we would.
So then it brings up the question, what does true leadership look like in a world that's obsessed with power and platform?
Well,
that's actually written on the back of the book.
Yes,
it is.
I looked at it
the
back, and so I just stole that question from you.
Yeah,
I figured that would be a good question since you asked it.
That's it. No, it's good.
You're like, that's a great question.
I think it starts with an understanding. So first off, a godly leader must be a believer. Let's just put that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with an understanding that power is not possessed, it's entrusted.
Yeah.
So, you know, we look at power as something that we gain. And I think a godly leader recognizes that he's been entrusted by the Lord with an audience, with authority. And so that shapes. So I'm a steward of what God has given me. I don't possess it myself. So I think that changes how we lead, how we view ourselves. I think that should build in an innate humility to start with, and then we go from.
And I hope, and I say this, obviously, I don't want it to sound like, oh, I'm a godly leader, but I believe I am, and I should hope to desire to be one. I think that what you're saying, for a person who's genuinely in the spirit of Boaz or a godly leadership, like you're sharing, that sense of this isn't mine brings peace.
It does.
Whereas for a lot of leaders today, no, I gotta hold on to it and grip it, hang on to it. And I think that's a great, a valuable thing for you to share. That a few weeks back, I forget in which sermon, but I had it in there because twice I had heard, not ministries I was listening to, but you get these things on Facebook, and I don't know how they decided that they would, for one stretch, were pounding me with some of these online preachers or whatever that I don't find an affinity with. But twice I heard them use Jesus flipping the tables in the temple and throwing it in the sense of our, what we got to do in this country, And I had written it down. If you remember in my sermon, it kind of struck me as, if that's your view of leadership. And I said, if your favorite scene in Jesus's life is him flipping the tables, then you don't know Jesus.
Yeah.
Because he didn't say to his followers, giving you an example, which is what I appreciate where you're going with this character. It was when he was on his knees washing their feet that he said, I give you an example.
Right.
And I almost see that like a part, like a Boaz almost foreshadowing some of that,
Absolutely. That's, I actually talked a little bit about that book.
Okay.
Just in the sense that, I don't want to, the last thing I wanted to do was to, delve into politics too far. But I did just mention that, we look at, sorry, I think, am I getting lost here in the microphone? Sorry about that.
It's all
we justify, we like to go to that one scene with Jesus and make that normative for how we are supposed to lead. And so that was a specific situation dealing with religious leaders, not the culture, right? Not your average person, for a particular reason.
Right.
And
it was Jesus.
It's
not me.
So is there a place for righteous indignation? Is there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at the whole of Scripture, that should not be our normal posture in the way in which we treat and lead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, people like to use that as cover for being jerks. And I just don't think that's,
I'm with you 100%.
Right.
Now, I haven't read your manuscript or anything, but do you just point towards character qualities, or are there actually any kind of, are there any names that you're putting in there, or ministry? Like, does your book address anything that ministries people have seen nationally? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. No, I don't use a lot of current examples.
Right.
What I'm trying to do is just show how the leadership qualities of Boaz would affect three areas: how you lead in ministry, how you lead in just an organization, and then how you lead in your family.
Yeah.
Oh, that
so
was my
I
next
try to
question.
deal with those three things throughout the book, because a lot of people might say, "Well, I'm not a leader," and I would say, "Well, are you a husband? Are you a dad? Are you a coach? Are you you might not own a business, and you might not be a senior pastor of a church like we are, but you have leadership in some way. You might lead 3 people at your job.
Yeah, right.
But you have a sphere of influence, even if it's your,
exactly,
in your home, to be able to put these characteristics into effect.
Yeah.
And just to bring in the family aspect of it, wives want to follow their husbands if they're leading them in a correct way.
Absolutely.
In a faithful way, in a spiritual way.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many times where women should be following their husbands, but there's a lot of times also where the husbands are just not leading in the proper authority. And so that really causes a wife to want to rebel in a certain aspect, not rebel, like a teenager would, but just not follow the lead.
Yeah.
Trust the lead.
Absolutely. Yeah. I talk some about that in the book as far as, not as, a little bit from the wife's side, but more on the, understanding that kindness, gentleness in leadership is not passivity.
Mm-hmm.
Way too many men have been passive in the home, right?
Yeah.
Either not present, which is a major problem, or present.
And not present could mean physically, mentally, emotionally.
Spot on.
He could be there 24/7, but he ain't there. Right.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So no, I think you're spot on. So I think there's 2 extremes that a lot of men fall into: harsh or passive.
Yeah.
And I think Boaz offers a third way of decisive gentleness. So
I think with Boaz, and I haven't preached through Ruth in a while, and I haven't been, I've often said I've forgotten 50% of the sermons that I've preached over the last 35 years.
Yeah, we've heard them a couple times.
I don't mean I don't think the lid by them. I just mean I've, but with Boaz, I appreciate in my recollection that he doesn't just say, all right, like I'm claiming this for God and off I go. He takes the time to determine, is there someone else? Right? I don't mean to be jumping in your, but
no, absolutely
that there's that quality that would also be a good leadership quality of, like some people see a leadership as just be 100% assertive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet Boaz seemed to be patient.
Quiet.
And I don't know where your manuscript is going, but in that one regard, I remember that, like that sense of him checking. Doesn't he go and check with, like, in some way? Is any, or he goes, now I'm showing up. Everybody's going to be disappointed with Pastor Vince. He goes to, in some way, investigate, is there anybody else to fulfill that role? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Spot on. Yeah. So, if you just want to get into it a little bit. So, what I love about Boaz is, he's in the field. He is observing his workers, right? He's being a boss, but he's there. He's present. He's leading. And in the midst of that, he isn't just so concerned with what he's doing and profit and all those things. He sees a woman in need, right? And so he is incredibly generous in what he does toward her. When she comes to him at night, right, and basically proposes marriage, he acts with integrity. And he also, could he have gotten away with it by just marrying her and all those things? Maybe. But he says, no, I got to do this the right way.
Yeah.
And so there's a closer redeemer, somebody else,
right,
that is closer and has the right of first refusal. So he says, stay here. Basically, I'll take care of it. And then the next morning, there's no dilly-dallying around.
Yeah.
He's at the city gate, which is basically the, where official business is done.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Right.
Gathering witnesses to do this right.
Right.
And to take action. So we see, he's careful.
That's what I appreciate. Yeah. He doesn't.
But he's active.
Right.
Takes initiative.
But he's not bullying.
No.
And he's not running, and you're right in that, not everywhere, but in some of our Christian enthusiasm, I say the at large evangelical community, it's almost like, not that we wouldn't use the word bullying, but it's almost like, that person who
we
just
would not use words.
no. What I mean is that person who just plows forward with a
Aggressive.
vision from God, aggressive. That's
Right.
leadership, and I
Not
appreciate
necessarily.
that you would choose somebody like Boaz. That's careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The process matters.
Yeah.
Mm.
How you
Yeah.
get to the
Yeah.
end goal matters. And that's a lot
Yeah.
about what I talk about, is that it's not just about, because leadership becomes the end justifies the means. However you get there, any collateral damages, all those things, it doesn't matter as long as the end goal, which we believe is God's will, is accomplished. And I say, no, you have to do the right thing
Yeah.
God's way.
Absolutely.
I'm
The journey matters.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I mean,
I am too.
Early in my ministry years, and I none of this am I using any of these names in a negative way, whether or not anybody looks them that way. But like, Bill Hybels took this and turned it into this, and Rick Warren and this and that, and in your mind, you're like back in those days, like, oh, what am I? What? And having to be able to say, Lord, just what you say. You didn't ask me to lead Willow Creek, and you didn't ask me to lead, but you're asking me to be the shepherd you want me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading a book at the time that really kind of blessed me. That was about they smell like sheep, and it was about real shepherds, smell like the sheep. They're in there. They're in with their lives, and it came up. It came at a time where another guy who was in ministry, and he was a visionary, and he was, in what am I trying to say? In baby prep, some people's view, like he was advancing, and him sitting down with me and say, "Oh, Vince, what's your vision for Emmanuel in 10 years?" I was like, "Well," and he says, "Well, what I mean is, this many people. How many people are you going to have in 10 years? Are you going to have a school in 10 years? You're going to have this."
Oh my!
And I said to him, "I got to be honest with you. If in 10 years I can say that I have walked with Christ and I have led the people of Emmanuel and shepherded them to abide in Christ and walk with Christ, for me, that's sufficient."
That's enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
at the end of the day, that's what matters.
And I had a sense that he took it as he doesn't have a vision. But to me, I just and we're all allowed to be different. But I always admired Falwell. He was doing this and this, but that was I never was somebody who I'd say, "Lord, lead us." But I never had this sense of God told me we're going to have a school, and we're going to launch out 10 different missionaries, and we're going to start. It just I was like, "Lord, I'm your little old servant here." But I don't mean that but I meant like I'm saying it to you that I want to affirm to you that I appreciate just even the description of where you're going with the book. That humility lasts. It has endurance.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You focus on things that are eternal. And look, obviously souls are eternal, and we want to have vision, and we want to reach as many people as possible, whatever. But I think that far too often we try to, if we focus only on those things, we are missing what's most important, and that is building the character first.
Yeah.
Right. And so becoming the man of God and the woman of God that he would have us be is what is going to drive those things to truly be successful in God's eyes.
Yeah.
Now your older son we said he's 12 now.
He's 12.
Is he like, my dad writes books? Wow. Is he involved? Does he want to see the process, or is he like,
no, he's not, I think he likes it, but no, he's not crazy interested right now.
Yeah.
Dad, put the book down and let's get your glove.
Yeah.
Now, look, I mean, at this point, I'm a self-published author. I publish through Amazon, no sense. But, and that's what this book will be. But my third book that I'm working on, which is called No Wasted Tears, how God redeems the pain that we didn't ask for. I'm working on that right now. And that one I'm going to take.
A good one.
Yeah, and I'm taking my time, and I'm really building it out. It's going to be a full treatment of sort of a theology of suffering and those kinds of things. And so that I'm going to take to a publisher, because that'll be I'm going to take that to a publisher, or Lord willing, several different publishers to see.
And the only reason he's writing the third book is just so he can be on here a third time.
Oh, that's exactly right.
That was the only reason.
Seems like a lot of work.
Were you on the first time with him?
No.
No.
You probably don't realize if you didn't listen to it. Bill's a published author.
Oh,
Yeah, but
is that right?
nobody cares.
When I brought it up back then, he was
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm not reading anything. You
So when I knew you were coming on, so I looked into a little bit more,
deep dive
into
deeper.
Ruth.
write.
So there were
You have
three
given?
things. Three things that I would you stop? Three things that I kind of took away,
Yeah.
and kind of just wanted to see your view on it.
Sure.
Because I basically parted up with Vince, like, okay, this is what a church leader would be in a way. So you already mentioned that Boaz walked the fields, so getting in there with the people.
Spot on.
He went the extra mile.
Yes.
He didn't have to do as much as he did and
Mhm.
leaving it. And then the protective of Ruth, making sure that they didn't.
Wow.
So I think that I could have written this. No.
Yeah. I was just man.
No. So tell me, like, how as a pastor do you incorporate all those things?
Yeah. No, what you said there was spot on.
Imperfectly.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. Let me try to remember what you said, and I'll try to handle it.
Boaz walk the fields. Let's go.
So walk in the field. So, a pastor, a father, a leader in business. If
Right.
you're going to be effective, you have to be present. You can't lead from on high. And you have to lead it
Good,
in a way
good.
that
Yeah,
is, you have to lead in a way that shows people that you're not above them. Right. So, being present to lead, but also present to get your hands dirty as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think leaders that don't garner respect are leaders that are constantly asking people to do things they're not willing to do. Right.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think, like the church needs to see me take the trash out,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
see me do things, you know what I mean? And so that's what I try to do. So be
Yeah.
present and be willing to, no task is above me. If I'm going to ask other people to do things, I need to be willing to do them myself and lead by example. The protection of Ruth is very important in, godly leaders, protect the vulnerable. They are kind, but they're strong. They enact policies and set precedents that people are going to be treated with respect and dignity, in the workplace, in the home, in the church. And so that, they are protective. They're protective of children. They're protective of women. They're protective of the poor. They're protective of the widow. And they're also generous. So Boaz shows a tremendous amount of generosity to Ruth. In the situation that she was in. And so, I talked about open-handed leadership, right? Because leadership is entrusted, we're not constantly trying to have our fists. We're giving away.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one you said?
Well,
It was the middle one. It was the middle one.
The extra mile.
Yeah.
But you kind of.
Yeah. So the extra mile there, especially, I talked about decisive leadership, but also, that has to do with integrity. Godly leaders choose right over easy, right? And so Boaz chose what is right over what is easy, even though he knew what was right was going to be harder. And it might even cost him something. It might even cost him a potential wife that he wanted.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm always, whatever, a godly leader says, this is what God has told me to do. This is what the scripture says. This I know is right. And so therefore I'm going to do it, even if it costs me something, if it costs me, a church member, if it costs me money, if it costs me time. You always choose right over easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good words. Good.
Yeah.
That's a-
Well, I mean, I got more hard.
no, I mean, it makes you want to read. Yeah.
Go ahead.
You ready? You got it?
I guess
Okay,
so.
here we go.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
What is the biggest blind spot you discovered that prevents leaders from sustaining their health during a personal or organizational crisis?
So let me know. Explain what you mean by health.
So your own.
Did he really write these questions?
Is this AI?
That one might be. No. But as far as like mental health, like because you discussed on the first time that the struggle with depression, and Vince has just described that as well. So then I kind of went into like the mental health of it. Like, is there a blind spot that, because both of you guys have openly been
That's an interesting question.
about, I know, that's what I said, hard hitting.
Think it's
But
like
you're talking about when
you can answer
specifically
easily
you said when you're leading the church through crisis.
Correct.
Or your family through crisis.
That's what I'm saying. Like family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there
like a blind spot, like you've discovered in leadership, like you're not looking towards,
that you don't typically see?
Correct.
Yeah. But you see now because of the crisis situation.
That's kind of
okay.
Let me rephrase.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. I'm watching Shane in studio. If you're not watching him, he's going, all right.
He is thinking.
Where's this guy?
I'm trying to understand it too, but let me see if this is where you're going. I'm not sure. So, one of the pitfalls, I think, of going through a crisis that way is going through it alone, right? And so, and not just alone, and not just in a crisis, but one of the things that helped me tremendously as a leader, and I think that this takes humility, especially for young leaders, is be open to input and support of others. Right. And so surround yourself with people that will speak wisdom into your life and into your leadership. And that's really important, going through a crisis as well. So I don't know if that's what
that's exactly what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think a blind spot can also be, and I'm not the author of the book, so it doesn't have to be in his book. But, for me, I know if you say blind spot, weakness, whether I inherited from my dad, somebody in the family particularly is going through something, I got to solve it. I got to fix it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes my family members will just be sharing something that they're not doing it to me. I'm receiving it as, all right.
How do I fix this?
I want to fix this so that they can be happy.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm learning. All right, Lord, in my own life, I had to turn to you with this, and they do also as well. And if I interrupt that step, not helping,
right?
Yeah,
that's hard.
So I have to lead them to find you in the midst of their pain instead of me removing the pain.
I think that's good. Crisis, I sort of along that same line, and I've been in crisis in a few different times, obviously with my son, a couple of times in ministry, personal, is a crisis reveals that we're not in control.
Yeah.
Right. It reveals that so much of what so much of the power that we thought we had is just an illusion. God is in control, and there's so much that I cannot control. I cannot solve. I'm not near as powerful as I thought I was.
Yeah.
I'm an inherently dependent being.
And on that note, Katrina's going to take us to break and tell us that you should subscribe right now. So go ahead, Katrina.
You should subscribe, like, and comment.
Here we go.
All right.
We'll be right back.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome to Emmanuel Baptist Church, where our focus has been building strong lives in Jesus Christ since 1925, right here in Maple Shade, New Jersey. With 2 Sunday services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., you can choose the time that works best for you. And if you have children, our Greenhouse Kids Ministry and Nursery are available during the 11 a.m. service, so you can worship without distractions. But that's not all. On Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., we offer Sunday school classes for all ages. And if you're looking for a midweek pick-me-up, we have a variety of events on Wednesday nights. For more information on all of our programs and events, visit our website at ibclife.org. Follow us on social media and check out our weekly bulletin. And there's one more way to stay connected with us. Download our Church Center app. With this convenient app, you can stay up to date on all of our events and register for programs. Emmanuel Baptist Church, building strong lives in Jesus Christ.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Sorry you had to listen to that commercial.
What?
No,
That's
no.
a good commercial.
It's good.
Yeah. Sure.
It's better than listening to Bill.
All right. So, Katrina,
Wow.
lead us off.
Oh,
Thanks for coming,
yeah.
Katrina.
All right.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Okay. So I'm going to start us off by asking more about your sort of writing process and what led you to that, and how has your personal relationships with your wife, with your children, things like that inspired you or kind of led you into being an author? And also, how do you sort of balance that?
Wow.
With-
18 questions.
Having support. Obviously, you have support to be able to be a pastor full time, be an author, a father of two. So, what are some faith-based ways that you feel supported in your role?
Yeah, that's great. So my wife is very supportive. She's always encouraged me to write. She knows that I have a passion for.
And you've been married to her for how long again?
Since 2009.
Yeah.
So what's that? 16 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be 17. this year.
Obvious. Yes. So you've obviously, yes, she lifts you up. She makes you feel supported.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And always encourages.
Mhm.
So, and it's amazing, the longer you live, the longer you serve in ministry, the longer you're a husband and a father, the more material you have to write.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
so, or, not that you're just writing about your own experience constantly, but God is constantly teaching you in the midst of that. And so, between studying to preach, between all those things, you realize, okay, maybe the Lord could use me to say something of value.
Do you feel like you find surprises throughout the writing process as well? Surprises like, oh, I just learned something new while I'm writing this book.
Yeah.
I'm learning something new as well.
Absolutely.
Are you able to plug that into your current manuscript, or do you think, okay, I'm going to put that in the idea for another?
It all depends what it
project?
is. It all depends what it
Depends
is.
on what
But
it
yeah, sometimes it's not always linear. Right?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what I've learned. And it's tough for me because I'm a very systematic person. I like, that's why I'm, my degree, my advanced degree is in systematic theology. I like very logical.
Yeah.
But when you're writing, you find that, a lot of times, something comes 3 chapters ahead and you take a break from what you're doing, or even, the Holy Spirit prompts you in a way that, for something for another book at another time. So I've had to learn to be comfortable with a little more of a scatterbrained approach than that I usually operate
Thing you would
in.
want to have. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so as far as balancing time, I try, I'm never going to not do something with my family or not do something with my church to write a book.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I'll, nighttime after my son, after my kids go to bed type of thing, my wife's pretty understanding in that. I mean, I don't want to, neglect her in any way, but she's pretty understanding that I'm locked into a book and those kinds of things. And she likes to go to bed earlier than I do anyway. So
that works.
Yeah. So no, I'm very supportive, or I'm very supported in this. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's been great.
Good.
Can you think of any time that, whether in college, under one of your pastors, did anybody ever do a series on Boaz that stuck in your mind?
No.
Okay.
No. I that was kind of the
when he
impetus
came, when
for
you
the idea.
became conscious of him, I guess, when you preached through. Okay.
Yeah, and I was, just reading just even little tidbits about him where, the guy's the boss and he's sitting there eating with his employees, and it just hit me. Wow, he's an incarnational leader. He's a leader that, he doesn't lead from on high. He's not better than anybody else. He's invested in his people. And I'm like, there's a lot here. And in really, he's only in 3 chapters of the Bible.
Right.
There's a lot here that just doesn't get touched on that much. And so I just sort of, developed that out. So
and to
hit me one day as I was reading.
To think how, like, I love those powerful verses that are very brief in Luke after the resurrection, when Jesus begins with the prophets and basically shares how all this pointed to him. And, we won't know till we're with them, but where in there, but I believe he had to, somewhere in there say, and just see how Boaz filled this role. And I almost picture the apostles going, yeah, you like that right? That sense of
absolutely,
like the underdog.
that,
Yeah.
but that
In a
sense
way.
of yeah, Jesus. I could see how Boaz.
Yeah. Boaz is one of the clearest Old Testament pictures of Christ. And that's really what the entire last chapter of my Bible is, or my Bible,
His revelation.
My book.
He has rewritten the Bible.
That's right.
That's his fourth book.
is about, hey, at the end of the day, it's great to learn things from Boaz, but at the end of the day, he was a man. He was somebody pointing us to Jesus, right? And so, it's no mistake that he's called a kinsman redeemer. He redeemed Ruth. He's also now in the line of David and Jesus, right? In the genealogy.
He's from Bethlehem, correct?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. And so,
Ding 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 ding. Bill got one.
Yeah.
yeah. So, the foreshadowing
I've
of
been to
Christ.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's
actually.
awesome. I've not been.
Yeah.
So
Did a little tour.
that's
It
awesome.
was cool.
So
Sorry.
But
I'm not from Bethlehem.
so the last chapter of my book is called The Better Boaz.
Better Boaz.
In making sure that at the end of the day, we're not developing our character and leadership style purely from a person. We recognize that Boaz is a man worth following because of how closely he reflects Christ.
Yeah.
And how Christ's redemption for us really provides a model of how we are to lead, right? It should make us inherently sacrificial in how we lead others. Willing to pay a high cost, to lead others well, as Christ paid the highest cost for us, right? And so understanding how Christ's redemption for us reshapes how we think about leadership.
Now, as far as, you're a leader of your church, but you also get involved in the community as well. And your leadership, Vince is a chaplain, but if my research did me dirty, I apologize. But didn't you set up an initiative to pay off student lunch debts?
We've done that several times. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that?
What is that?
What is that?
Well, I don't know how much time we have, but one of the ways in which I wanted to do something different and help with revitalization at our church, because our church had suffered some major setbacks before I got there, was to become a church that was more outward focused.
Are you referring to the Massachusetts church?
No, I'm referring to Grace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, specifically Grace. It suffered some turmoil and all of those things. And so one of the things that we were trying to do was think about not just ourselves, but the community. How are we going to get involved in the community? And so that's what we wanted to do. And at the time, we would have a good turnout on Christmas Eve. We didn't have a Christmas Eve offering. And so I said, well, we're not going to have a Christmas Eve offering for ourselves, but what if we had a Christmas Eve offering for the community? So, we already invest in the community in other ways.
Good idea.
That's a very good idea.
So I said, well, why don't we start by, calling the school, asking them how much lunch debt they have in all of Barrington and paying it all off. And so that's what we did. And it got in the newspaper and it blew up. The first one blew up. The first one blew up. I had no idea.
That's amazing.
But we've done it several times.
Yeah.
So we always choose something in the community. Probably half the time it's school lunch debt.
Yeah.
This year, I don't remember, maybe $2,700 or something like that. And we just paid off all of Barrington and we were able to pay ahead for like 6 months.
What?
I could almost, as a pastor, I'm always used to the other side too. And I could almost hear the voices saying, oh, we paid for our lunches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they knew that they were going to get.
Well,
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
but you hear all sides.
My
of it.
mind always hears the other side. It's when the country was saying, we're going to pay off the student loans, and everybody who paid off their loans was like, we paid off ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I think I meant it.
Yeah.
I meant like you have to say,
at the end of the day, we're responsible to be, our goal is to be kind and generous and to reflect Christ to the community.
Very tangible act.
And just pray that the Lord redeems it and the Lord uses it in the right ways. Right. We're not going to be reckless.
Yeah.
We're not just going to hand people a bunch of money and all those kinds of things. But we specifically, we also know that in our community, even in Barrington, there are single moms, there are people, there are kids with food insecurity, those kinds of things. So there are real tangible needs. And I just, trust the Lord that, the money's going to go into the right place.
Yeah.
And
anything for children.
Is
it good?
That part that you brought out, that generosity, that willingness to protect and step in. I don't mean the bit, but I almost feel like I want to make a little tribute to my grandfather who's with the Lord. My grandpa McDevitt, my mom's dad, he was never the person that anybody was listening to in the room. Always quiet, always laid back. He was a truck driver for 50 years. What he was most known for is his plaque that he got, never having an accident 50 years as a truck driver. He was Uncle Jim to his brother's 5 children. My mother not being one of them. He was I'll explain. He was Uncle Jim to his brother's 5 children. His brother in Philadelphia stepped off of a trolley and was hit by a drunk driver and killed. When Uncle Jim, it's almost Old Testament. Uncle Jim stepped right in and married, his brother's widow wife. And no, what I mean is he what I mean is the difference in what was going to happen to that family at that time.
They would have nothing.
Her husband had just been killed.
They needed an income.
I don't mean the next day. Yeah. But it always stood out to me. He stepped in.
Are you sure he wasn't pushed?
He stepped. That
was fun.
My grandmother, she had a 7-year-old daughter who was run over by a truck driver, which is ironic. But anyhow,
That's right.
My point is that I always looked at it because he stepped in, and then their first child was my mom, and then 2 of my other uncles. But I always looked that I always thought the difference that he
was like a bus.
He changed the trajectory of their entire life.
Never, if you ask me what were some of the things he would say, I don't remember him ever so much.
Wow.
I guess I was only hitting on that with, as you brought out, like for some who may be listening, we're not talking about that those who are just leading Bible studies or those who have a position of ministry leadership. I always looked at it, and my grandmother talked a lot more than my grandfather did. And so some people might have said, "Oh, well, but his leadership of stepping in, protecting her and the kids, keeping the family together. By the time I came along, my mom was in her mid-20s, and by the time I remember anything, she's probably 30.
Right.
The whole family saw him as dad.
Yeah.
But not as nobody, like he was never the dad that said, "All right, everybody gather." But that act, as I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quiet and steady.
It maintained, it was leadership in my mind. It was.
No, you're getting at something very, very important. Leadership in the ordinary, not just the
extraordinary. In the ordinary,
Yep.
Yeah, I
faithful leadership that you don't know how the Lord's done.
Yeah.
Right. And he was when he was a kid, his dad had died and his mom was sick, and he lived in an orphanage with nuns, and what I mean is all the things that God uses that you can make an excuse, or you can say, I'm just looking forward to reading your book because of that sense of that you're coming with, that sense of this is real life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody can apply
because
it.
It often looks more glamorous to lead in the spotlight, right?
Absolutely.
To have your name in a paper, to have your name on a podcast.
Yeah. And you don't have to,
on the podcast.
No, you don't have to be a dad to be a leader.
Right.
You don't have to be a husband
You
to be
can
a
be
leader.
any person in any season of your life, and also, be a leader in what you're talking about, not just
and I guess
highlighted.
I'm sorry. Because I guess
Don't
because I
apologize.
want you to.
Go.
I guess my grandmother was much more vocal than my grandfather. That doesn't mean he wasn't a leader by his.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So in some of those roles, I guess what I wanted you to just touch on that a guy doesn't have to think I have to, like my wife may be doing more ministries than I am. It doesn't mean I've
That you're not a
forfeited
leader.
my leadership role.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, part of godly leadership is leading how God has designed you.
Mhm.
And so, some leaders are more, they have a bigger audience, they have a bigger personality, right?
Mhm.
But quiet, steady leadership
Yeah.
speaks volumes.
Speaks
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And also look for the good in your leaders. They're not going to be perfect. Look for
absolutely.
what they do bring rather than for what
Yep.
they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say,
Good.
everybody has a sphere of influence, right? And
Right.
so everybody is a leader. But you say, well, right now I don't really have a lot of people to lead. I would say, great, cultivate the character qualities
Yeah.
and the godliness now,
Yes.
so
Before
that you're
get
not,
into it.
so that when God does desire to use you in leadership,
Yeah.
and so preparation precedes, in my view, leadership and effectiveness.
So, what would you say would be good preparation?
That's a good question. So,
Reading this book.
yes.
You can now get it on Amazon.
Yeah. So I would say, cultivating spiritual disciplines, right?
Okay.
And so being in the Word, having older, wiser believers in your life, speaking into your life actively, obviously being involved in a good church family.
Yeah.
And so, and whatever, God is calling you to, as far as leadership, like being an active, lifelong learner,
Yeah.
like not assuming that you're just going to know what to do. So if God is gifting you for the ministry, getting qualifications
Yeah.
and training and whatever that may be. And so, but I think cultivating spiritual disciplines is the biggest means of preparation, and that requires, I believe, having somebody, one or multiple people in your life, older, wiser, further in the faith, speaking and mentoring.
So, what if if those people aren't reaching out? Do you reach out to them? How does that? I mean,
How does that
because
look,
even though,
practicality?
even though you might want that, what if they're not stepping up?
That's a good question. So, I think being willing to step out and
Okay.
I did that as a younger guy, and I had some good mentors in my life.
Okay.
And so, I think, and part of it too, I think, is as you get more involved in the church, as you get more involved in ministry, others, you put yourself in a place where others are going to, notice you, and it'll be more natural, right? And so I wouldn't say go from, never going to church and never reading your Bible to, hey, I want, a ministry mentor. Get involved in the church, get to know people. And some of those relationships will come naturally, but also being willing to, flat up ask, because, a lot of godly leaders would love to do that.
Now, as leaders, and I know you're old and in the way, and you're young. I'm just kidding. You're 65. You're not old and in the way.
You're young.
I'm
No.
blessed to be on Medicare.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
But who do you guys go to that would
Ooh,
be
that's a good
somebody,
question.
not as maybe not even as a mentor, but somebody that you can talk to and open up and
Well, I'll say for him, but because it's going to be different for me than him, because back in the day when I had issues that I probably went back to see Dr. K. Wood, at Cairn, or obviously I always had my dad until he passed in May, but slowly those individuals go to be with the Lord.
right. So who do you go to now that you would say, hey, I can just be myself and I can and get some guidance, who would you do that now to? I mean, it doesn't have to be a name, but is it?
Well, I also don't have a problem at my end.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's reciprocal, being able to say, Lord, I'm open for you using a younger person to open my eyes to something. Now, I do understand the sense of wisdom in years, but I can get set in my ways. And there's a possible, I was at when I was a new pastor, I was at a lot of wonderful, but some pastors' fellowships where the group of retired guys didn't necessarily have a lot of good things to say about the young guys. Sure. You know what I mean? So I remember at the time thinking, Lord, when I get to be that guy, not that I ever picture anybody picturing me as the older, wiser, but Lord, senior, let me celebrate. Let me celebrate these young guys who you are bringing along, and let me be able to perspective. Let me be able to listen if they say, well, the world's changed and you're saying this, and it's. I want to at least be able. So for me, I don't have a lot
both sides of
I don't have a lot of older guys to turn to.
An older mentor. You want to be able to listen.
They're in the grave.
No, what I mean, the guys that were instrumental in my life in the past.
Yeah. Oh, that's.
How about
I
you?
see what you're saying there.
Sure.
It's being so much younger.
Yeah.
I was so much younger.
So it's changed over time, right? I think what you said is good. In my younger days, I would have went to, seminary professors and those guys that mentored me along as a younger guy, but the steady ones in my life now are the elders of my church.
Yeah.
Right. And so I always try to, sort of a first among equals. It's not my way or the highway. We do things together. So I'll share things with them. Some things, you would want to take outside the church just for privacy or whatever, or whatever it may be. So the elders of my church, my father, who was in ministry for a long time. He's a businessman. He's in the business world, but he's still preaching.
Is he retired yet, or no?
He's still.
Right.
Wow.
He's a regional vice president and still preaches every Sunday.
Oh my
at his little
goodness.
church in Ariel. So
where is he? He's not local.
No. He lives in Cherry Hill.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
Ariel?
Yeah.
Ariel is Linden.
No idea.
Pine Hill.
Stratford.
Not from New Jersey.
That's okay. So he lives in Cherry Hill.
Maple Shade.
It's like right here.
Yeah, he lives Cherry Hill.
Was from that area, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
Actually, his office is right in Morristown, and then his church is in Pine Hill.
Oh, so was he here when y'all, because again, just to talk about your first podcast episode you did, I re-listened to it yesterday, which everyone should listen to it. It was so good.
Oh, well,
go back and listen to it. But was he here? Was your family here when y'all decided to move New Jersey rather than Florida?
Yes.
Because of Chase?
Yes.
So
I grew up in this area.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I just wanted some clarification.
Yep.
Okay.
Your sister Amber and her husband, they live
in Haddon Heights.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Every so often I'll see something on Facebook with them and kind of meet the.
So
his father, I knew him because I went to Bethel and he would occasionally preach.
Yep. And then he served on staff for a number of years.
Things are clicking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there we go. Thank you.
So let me make sure I answer your question.
Yeah.
So my church elders, my father, and then I have two pastor friends that I've developed over the years that are older than me, wiser than me, and through the gamut that I'm close to and I call on. I literally call them when I'm dealing with an issue. Or just, hey, I really need some outside counsel. I need your opinion on this. I need your thoughts. So one in Massachusetts where I served, who's a dear friend, and then one in Tennessee. That was one of our supporting churches for my church plant. And I developed a real close relationship with him. He's he's at a big church. He was the president of the Tennessee Baptist Convention. He's seen it all. And
Can you tell me what area in Tennessee?
Sure. Clarksville.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's like an hour from
middle
my hometown.
Okay. Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dang,
cool.
Okay.
Clarksville, and then
learning
Sterling,
geography. So this is good.
Sterling, Massachusetts for the other one. And so
that's north.
I had something last month that I literally called my friend in Massachusetts just to get his view on something.
Yeah.
So, yep, those are the guys that I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
I've got 15 years of experience. I still call others.
Still call.
Sure.
counsel.
And these relationships take a while to develop too. It's not like you
They
can
do.
say,
Yeah.
I want this mentor, I want this relationship, boom, it's done. It takes a while to cultivate that.
Yeah,
grow it.
especially the ones that really last.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would agree.
Well, when I began pastoring, my senior year at Baptist High, we had a new teacher, Al Graber. And Al Graber was the history teacher. But Al had gone to Philadelphia College of Bible to be a pastor. So that's what I knew Al my senior year. He was Mr. Graber, and he gave me a detention. I had to pick up papers off the floor, Well, but so then out after college, and I worked for a few. When I entered the ministry 10 years later, as a pastor, Al was pastoring Haddonfield Bible Church, and we developed it was just like Mr. Graber, Al, and through the years, and one of the things that I valued about, I always knew, like Al was, I think more like you he was, I would say this about you, just listening to you briefly, more of a theologian to me. I don't mean that I don't know theology. Mm-hmm. I mean, Al had his master's in theology or whatever, and Al has his doctorate, but Al, I just always respected the fact that he had, that his gifts were all more even in the depth of that. And so there are times through the years, even for me, if I was preaching on something, but I was trying to be creative, I'd say, Al, let me ask you something. Am I on safe ground by saying this?
That's
and he'd be like, well, Vince, over here, it's, and this, and he just was more of a prolific reader than the reality is some fellas, their gifts, they're spending hours reading, where I'm, like you said, coaching or doing this or doing that, but Al is always, but I'll tell you why. Humility.
Yep.
Al has always, there's never been a time that Al was self-promoting or that Al was jealously tearing down another ministry. He's always humility, integrity. I've always thought, okay, well, that's a safe guy to go to.
Some marks of a godly leader.
Yeah.
So on that note, I got nothing else. Do you have anything else you would like to plug out?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah.
We hit it all.
Listen to the other podcast.
There we go.
Buy his first book.
When it comes out.
Buy his.
It'll be out.
I know.
It's already out now.
Technically,
when
this
airs, I don't understand how you can understand that.
Oh, I forget. When did it when did it come out on Amazon? It came out on
I love it.
So check it out. A Life Worth Following, Godly Leadership Lessons from the Life of Boaz. And the author is Shane Colwell.
Shane Colwell. Good man.
And if you want a good church and you don't want to drive all the way to Emmanuel, and
go to Grace.
All right, we'll leave that. We'll leave that.
That's fine. I can say that Emmanuel has a better cameraman. There's the humility. Yeah, there's the humility. Make sure you subscribe, and thank you again for coming on.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you after your next book.
All right.
Okay.
All right.